My name's Troy Landwehr, and today we talk to Ray Higdon of RankMakers. Hi, it's great to have you on the show. For those of you who don't know, if you're involved in home-based business or you want to get involved in a home-based business, I can't think of too many people that have the content and the education that this man has. In fact, I was a gentleman. I struggled for years, and it was only when I tuned in to people like Ray Higdon, Eric Worre, which really is what put me into the $1 Million Hall of Fame, is because I know success leaves clues. The Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. So that's in Proverbs. And so if you want to be the best, you got to get around the best. You got to listen to the best. You got to watch their videos, listen to their content. And to me, this may be the best person to listen to in the entire industry is Ray Higdon. And what I like about Ray is that he is adapting to change every single year through social media and content, things with the pandemic. And so, Ray, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I want to get right into it because time is money and people's attention span, is very, very short. So they don't want to listen to me. They want to listen to you. So let's, I know a lot of people. I want to talk about, we're looking at a pandemic right now. And what is your experience for COVID? How is this, what is your recommendations and how has COVID changed the industry in your opinion?
Yeah, it's, if you look at how many months has it been now? 9-10 months. 9-10 months ago, there were a lot of people that had their careers figured out that don't anymore. Either they were restaurant owners, or they worked in the hospitality industry, or they worked in travel, or whatever. There's just a whole lot of people that were planning on just climbing their way up the hotel, the franchise, the restaurant, fill in the blank, or to expand and have more restaurants or more franchises or whatever. And there's a lot of people that really don't know what the hell they're going to do right now. And so all of a sudden, having any way to make money from home became the most coveted position on planet Earth. Now, if you consider what could you do from home, you could make, almond butter cookies in the basement and ship those out and deal with how do you get those across state line? How do you keep them fresh, right? You could deal with supply chain management, human resources, all kinds of different things. Or you could join a network marketing company and simply point people to an online video that gives them enough information to make a decision. And so network marketing, which we have always called the lowest risk, lowest overhead way for the average ordinary person to start a business, is at the epicenter of such a powerful way to make money from home. And for people that aren't sure what to do with their careers, for them to do network marketing. With network marketing, it is low risk, it is low overhead, and you're just, it's just a simple way that you can use social media. Now, my wife and I, we started building on social media, 10, 11 years ago, back when they said it wouldn't duplicate, that it was too technical, that, that'll never work. And, you got to be belly to belly. And, we just, we did that stuff too. And I still, think that, that's, great. Obviously you have some limitations nowadays, at least with the pandemic, but we always saw social media as a no-brainer tool to build a network marketing company. And that people have been forced to learn if they hadn't learned it before the pandemic.
After COVID settles, do you think the industry is going to completely change? How do you see that unfolding?
It's interesting because there'll always be the human desire for face-to-face interaction, and I think there'll always be home parties. There'll always be meetings at Panera or Starbucks or whatever. I think what it did was, for those that weren't on the social media train, it opened their eyes to their limitations, which previously they didn't think they had any. And so there were a lot of people, I would say, outside the industry. Many learned how financially fragile they actually were. Inside the industry, they realized how functionally fragile they were. And so if you weren't, creating content online, if you weren't engaging on social media, and you were just, hoping that, you could do it without, then, you're probably in a big learning position, or a very sad position right now. And so I think you'll still see home meetings, you'll still see gatherings, you'll still see that sort of thing whenever the politicians let us know that we can do that kind of stuff. But you did introduce a lot of people that may have thought they only could do it offline, that now realize they can 100% do it on social media.
That's great. I want to stick with this. I want to get to what companies are doing right and what companies are doing wrong. I know, you see a lot of Black Friday sales. I've seen some companies completely miss the boat. Cyber Mondays, they completely missed it. And other companies really took advantage of it. And we see their sales rocketing. What are you seeing out there? What are some of the companies doing right as far as customer onboarding programs, recruiting? What do you see as the new trend that people have adapted to that you like? What would you recommend for companies to do to get more customers? And
Yeah. It's interesting, because when I would say in 2015 is when social media started really being embraced in the network marketing space. That would be my guess, at least. I mean, I know that year is the year that we had, Bob Heilig, Simon Chan, the Meltons in our mastermind, and I'm not going to be able to name them all, but we had a lot of people that were like, hey, we need to learn this stuff. And even if they were doing it to some degree, they wanted to take it to another level. And so I would say, 2015 was probably the year that network marketing started really embracing it. And what happens when a new philosophy is embraced, it's often talked above the average, right? Meaning it's not spoken in a manner that the layperson can understand. And so what I used to see, and this has definitely gotten better, what I used to see is I would go speak at a company event, and they would have their social media person on stage, which would speak at this level, and 90% of the audience is like, what are they talking about? Like, where do I get
over the head?
Do I buy it at Best Buy? Like, they don't know what the hell they're saying. And people have realized that you impressing people with your social media know-how and knowledge doesn't really serve them very well. So let's break it down a notch. And one of my favorite books around this concept is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Not a network marketing book, but kind of is. And there's a line in there that said, McDonald's is the most successful franchise because they have systems that the person with the lowest level of skill can run. So they got the crappiest food. They got an 18-year-old as a manager. And who owns McDonald's? Mainly the franchises, accountants. They're not entrepreneurs. They just run, do the numbers, because their system is so simple to follow that anyone could do it, of any level of skill. And so now I would say, maybe 2019, maybe you started seeing some of these social media guys get off their high horse and start speaking more simply, so that the mechanic can understand, the truck driver, the person who hasn't studied business or social media or technology or anything like that they could actually implement. And that's, one of the things that we do is we do a lot for our clients. We do a lot of Facebook group audits, where we eliminate all the jargon and stuff that makes no sense, and we assume nothing, so that the person that has zero level of skill or knowledge can actually follow step by step how to do it. And so, that's what we've, been seeing. It's nice as a philosophy matures, that more and more people take something complex and make it a little bit simpler, a little bit simpler, a little bit simpler. And that's something we've really enjoyed, watching, over the years.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ray. I'd love to get your advice on this. It's something that I've had a hard time balancing. And I've watched quite a bit of you, and we're going to talk about your book and where to find you. RankMakers is, if you're truly looking into the home-based business, you're actually listening to the best of the best. You're looking, in my opinion, the top 1 or 2 trainers in the entire world on making money from home, whether you want to make additional part-time money of $100 a week or $100 a month, or if you want to make life-changing, 7-figure income, this is the guy. This is the guy you want to follow.
Thanks, appreciate it.
If you're looking at the new person online, I've struggled with this. And I almost feel like, Ray, so I'm actually feeling like this isn't an interview. I'm going to feel like it's two friends talking, and I want to get your advice on this.
Sure.
Okay. But I think a lot of people, I always said, if people can go to your Facebook page and they know the company you're in and the product that you sell, you just lost, because at the beginning, it'll help people out. It'll help you out. People will call you. But then 6 months from that time, when you launch the name of your company, your product, the only people doing likes and comments on your Instagram and Facebook are the people that are in the business. But I also see women having a lot more success when they do showcase their clothing line or their product. And so my gut tells me that it could be different rules for men than women, although I kind of prefer like to pique curiosity, and not kind of like saying, I can't believe how well I'm sleeping because of this product, or I can't believe. But there are some women that have cranked when they let people know what company and product there are. And I think women have more success than men that way. But do you prefer, is there any standard rule that you have? So my question is, would you prefer people not knowing the company that people are with, or or do you think it's good? Are there different rules for men and guys? So how do you play that out? Because I struggle with that.
Yeah. So there's two different matrices that should go into your evaluation. One is influence, one is platform. So Instagram is more if you look at the energy and the not the climate, but the culture, I guess. If you look at the culture of Instagram, a couple things show up. Number one, it's not weird at all to get a message from someone you don't know, right? Facebook, it's like, hey, who's in my backyard, right? You're like, who is that? And so you have to have a strategy. And we teach that, right? You got to answer the 3 questions if you're going to message people on Facebook that you don't know. Instagram, it's like, oh, hello, how are you, right? Instead of, hey, who's in my backyard? There's a more openness to cold person kind of connection. And the other difference in culture is that it's not as I don't know if jarring's the word. It's not as offending. It's not as negative. You talking about the company name in things like Instagram stories. Okay, and so that platform does play a role. You seem to be able to get away with a little bit more on Instagram of use of company name. Facebook, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. One of the levels that one of the matrices that you have to add into this evaluation is influence. So there are people that are influence privileged in that if they post a picture of their breakfast burrito, everyone's like, yeah, girl, that looks yummy. And, but if the normal person does, they're like, ooh, go on a diet. Right. And so, influencer privilege creates often, not always, but influencer privilege often creates intellectually lazy marketers. And so they don't have to really think about, curiosity. And not that we all should strive for more influence for sure, but you can do something and break some rules of psychology and marketing and have it still work. Now, I adhere that with influencers or with anybody, if you adhere to the rules of psychology and marketing, then you'll just get more if you do it the right way. And so on Facebook, there is no question, you using the company name, they're going to go to 3 websites. They're going to go to Amazon, eBay, and Google, and they're going to check that out. And they will either be snagged away from someone with an internet sales funnel, or they'll run into that blogger in North Dakota that says you kill puppies, or say that you're a scam or you're a pyramid or whatever. And that absolutely happens at around $200 million a year, sometimes sooner, but not usually. If you're under $200 million a year as a company, you may not have that much negative stuff out there, but once you hit that, you absolutely do. And so you're going to be losing people that could have been interested without you ever even knowing it. It's a shame. When I was building my team, someone sent me this, an advertiser sent me this. 1,300 people a month were searching for what MLM is Ray Higdon in, because I didn't talk about it. I didn't say the company name ever. And so I may give a shout out to a teammate. I may talk about, something about a product, but I didn't post the company name ever, because no one cares. They don't care what the company name is. But when you give it, you're saying, hey, go do your own independent research. Hope you come back to me, which you never will. Thank you. And so it just doesn't make any sense. And so I'm suggesting that even influencers that may have fairly effective campaigns by using the company name would actually, they got to have systems in place. But if they didn't do that and raise more curiosity and use the power of curiosity marketing, then they would actually generate a whole lot more leads, which would lead to a whole lot more sales.
I love what you said, because some companies have better systems than others for sure. Some companies don't. And then people too. So, I love what you said, because if you have good systems in place, and, I wanted two questions, maybe for the advanced, but let's get to the beginner first. Like, if you are an influencer.
But just to point out, it's personal systems too. So, when I was building, I was generating 3,000 leads a month without ads. I had to have personal systems. So I had lieutenants. I had a lieutenant in Australia, in London, in Canada, in California, had one in Naples, I had lieutenants that were proven closers. They had to prove themselves, and I would dole out leads to them because I couldn't follow up with 3,000 leads a month that were coming to me. And again, that was without ads, without dropping a dime. And so when you use psychology and curiosity, you can do that kind of thing. And that was many, many years ago. I think it's even way easier nowadays, but that you have to have personal systems too. How do you handle those leads? And, but I agree with you.
Well, I love what you said. Let's stay right there, because that's great. Because one of the things that you do as good as anybody in the industry, okay? And I'm careful to say the best, but as good as anyone is, you have systems in place to help people become the hunted, not just the hunter. And a lot of people say, I have no one to talk to. Well, one of the things that you've done is you always done these like 14-day challenges, and you have all kinds of, so that's where I encourage you that if you feel like you ran out of people to talk to, this is the guy that has the systems in place to help you. And one of the things is, if you're going to grow and make more money, you got to get uncomfortable in life. And that's what Ray does in a fun way. He gets you to become uncomfortable by incorporating these systems. And that's what people need. So like online, what platforms, especially we'll go towards more the beginner, what platforms do you like a beginner to use? Is Instagram? I know TikTok's coming in there. You got Facebook. And how would you use them especially if you're new to the industry? How would you use these platforms?
I mean, it's really, so, it's a common question, right? What platform is best, or which one should I, focus on? And honestly, if you pour value and you understand adding value, they all work. I mean, any of them. You could use it. You could build an entire empire on LinkedIn. You could do the same thing on Instagram, the same thing on Twitter, the same thing on Facebook. There may be different nuances, right? I mean, I recruited $1 million earner from Twitter that was arguing with me, and so if you put enough energy, focus, and value into any platform, it'll work. So if we know that, then it's basically, which one do you like the best? My wife really, loves Instagram, right? So she tends to do a lot more on Instagram than she does on Facebook. Me, I hang out personally more on Twitter because it's kind of my way of digesting information. I kind of like it. For business, we definitely spend a lot more money on ads on Facebook. And so it's really what platform do you like the most? Because I've seen people that they see that people are blowing it up on Instagram and they don't really care for it. They don't really like the functionality. And so they go over there and they try to make it work. But the whole time they're not really feeling that great. If you feel great about Facebook, there's still plenty of fish over there, and there's plenty of space there for you to build a business. Now, there's two pillars of building any kind of business, whether it's plumbing, whether it's air conditioning, real estate, network marketing, and that is marketing and prospecting. Marketing is you doing something passive that you hope someone reacts or responds to. So if I do a podcast, if I do a blog post, if I do a billboard, if I do a flyer at the Whole Foods, right? Those are all passive things that I hope someone sees, and they may or may not, but they're passive to generate leads towards you. Prospecting is active. That's you reaching out to an individual. So when I got serious about network marketing, I should say, two pieces of my daily routine was, one, I wanted, because I was broke, I was in foreclosure, dead broke, $1 million in debt. I had read a book called Go for No. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for 20 no's a day. And so I did a lot of reach out because I didn't have a brand. I wasn't generating leads, and I didn't, I needed to make money. I'm broke. And so I did 20 no's a day through prospecting. And I did one video a day. So July 15, 2009, I started doing one video a day, and I've never missed a day because I'm a lunatic. And so over 11 years, I've done at least one video a day. Most videos, 3 or 4, but nowadays at least one video a day for 11 years. And so what were those videos? What should someone new do? Well, the easiest concept that we've been teaching for a decade, I guess, is a process called ILT, invest, learn, teach. So everyone that would watch this kind of video, at least, does the I and the L. They invest their time and possibly money to learn something. So they either buy a book, they buy a course, they attend a seminar or a virtual summit nowadays, and they take notes, they learn things, okay? Well, all you got to do is add the T, add the teach. And so, when I am, last year, I gave Grant Cardone $100,000 for 6 hours. And when I would, spend time with him and just pick his brain over, money mindset, scaling, et cetera, I would just take my notes and go live with my clients, and they loved it. That's ILT. I invested time and money to learn something.
You're creating value. You're creating value.
Creating value. And in value, because that, we were one of the early ones to start using that term in our space. So now it's kind of bandied around. I'll explain exactly what it actually is. Value means, does someone gain something whether they purchase or not? So if you're explaining the ingredients in your bottle of thing that you sell, that's not really value, because they really only gain if they purchase it, use it, and experience something. If you're sharing, 4 ways to lose weight, whether they buy your bottle or not, that could be valuable. That might help somebody. And so value is giving before you're receiving. It's giving of benefit, which is typically education. Sometimes it's entertainment, if you got that, that funny bone or that entertaining gene in you. But at least everyone could do education. You could watch a documentary and share from that documentary, and that could be valuable for somebody.
That's all great stuff. And so let me ask you this: do you believe in you see a lot of people with funnel systems, and that's kind of getting popular. Of course, Russell Brunson's worked for him, right? But do you see more people doing funnel systems? That's been asked about for the influencers. And do you find it important? I agree that you have to create systems in place. For the average person is not going to do a funnel system. They're not going to brand themselves. But is there an importance of branding at some point, so you can, because that's really what you're doing, is if you're creating content, even if for the beginner, they're kind of creating not a Ray Higdon brand, but they're starting to brand themselves a little bit, right? And that's probably important, because people can't do business with you if they don't know who you are, right?
So there are a few things there. One, I'm very good friends with Russell. He was in my team many years ago, and we're very good friends. And so I love Russell. One thing that people need to understand is that a funnel funnels. And so when I hear someone that hasn't ever generated a lead say that they need a funnel, that doesn't make sense, right? If you don't need you don't need a funnel for your car if you don't have any gas, right? And so it's when you're a beginner, when you're not generating any leads, you don't need a funnel. You need to generate leads. You need to focus on getting people to reach out to you through calls to action, through giveaways or something. You need to do something to get people reaching out to you, because a funnel is more of a qualifier. I mean, our best pages, like really, really amazing pages, get like a 70% opt-in. That means 30% are visiting and not entering, right? And that's a pretty good page. Most pages are, 20 to, 50%. And so, that's kind of my take on funnels and the new person. They think that there's magic in a funnel. It just funnels. It takes a larger number of people and makes them less. And so
it's easier to have a funnel if you have a brand already. Sometimes you got to have a brand first before you can funnel it in a little bit.
No question. But people get tangled up with a brand. And I see people that go into Brandville and they emerge 3 years later, still not knowing their target market, their avatar, their brand mark, their logo. What color should it be? Turquoise blue or sky blue? Which one speaks to me? And, then I think the big thing there is if you make your brand at minimum something of value, something that what can I expect when I come to your page? And would you follow you? That's a very simple. Would you follow you if you had really fancy graphics and a boa around your neck, but you didn't add any value? You probably wouldn't. You'd be like, whatever. They're kind of cool pictures, bro, but I'm not going to follow this person. You would follow them if they provided you value, if they solved your problems, if they added, something to your life. You would probably follow them. I remember when I was number one income earner in the company. I was. I don't know all my stats or whatever, but I remember I was doing pretty good. And I was at a conference in Austin, and my friend Tim Irway gets up and he says, "Hey, you guys should be blogging. And, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just look at Ray Higdon's blog. It's literally the ugliest website on the planet." And I was kind of like excited for the shout out, but also sad because apparently my site back then was really, really ugly. And, but I was a top earner. I was generating, a few hundred leads a month at least, and making $50,000 a month and doing okay. And but because I didn't think about brand mark, logo, perfect slogan. I didn't think about those things first. I thought about value first, and value just supersedes everything else. If you're adding value, you having a better logo or slogan or colors or whatever, yeah, that'll add to it, no question. But I think people focus on the wrong thing first. You focus on value first, which anyone can add.
Right. Well, I know that you have a new book that teaches a lot of this stuff called Money Freedom out there, which there it is, time, money, freedom. Okay. Which one do you want? Some people are like, Ray, just give me one of them, or, just give me one of them and I'll buy the book. What kind of things can they expect from buying a book? What are they going to learn from it?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that. Well, give me one of them, because our shirts that we had designed for this say time, money, freedom, why choose? And so this is the 10 simple rules to redefine what's possible and radically reshape your life. And so in it, we share our 10 rules, my wife and I's, of what did we do to move away from corporate America, to move away from jobs that just weren't fulfilling, to building a company of impact, building a multi-million-dollar company, an Inc. 5000 company, becoming best-selling authors. What did we do, and what did we overcome? So I was in a very abusive home until the age of 12. She had her own challenges, and we've had challenges along the way. I've been dead broke twice, been in foreclosure, lost it all, and we share some of those obstacles and exactly what strategies we use to help overcome them. Whether it was trust issues from past betrayal to relationship issues to what was the one thing that was hurting our relationship that we were actually arguing about. And so this is for the person that wants to improve their finances and or relationships. And the three things that we really hope people get is that if you've had a bad life, a tough life, you can still create a great life. And based on the things that you've overcome, you can actually create a very inspiring life. And number three is that you should make more money, because with more money, you can make a bigger impact. We can only volunteer so much of our hours at charity, and that's a good thing. I'm not negating that. That's a good thing, but there's a finite amount. you make enough money, you can put a wing on the children's hospital. You can build an eye center for premature babies. You can build, schools in Guatemala, water wells in Kenya, abuse centers and wherever. And so we really hope those are the three main things that we really have in this book. There are strategies. One entire section is about making money online and how to do that. Very basically said that anyone can follow, and it's a lot of mindset stuff in there too, which is what really holds people back.
Well, it's got it all, because I think there's a lot of things that to be successful at home, you need to sharpen your skills. So the time, money, freedom, and I love what you said. I mean, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and you can, tell from my background, I'm actually a PK's kid. So my dad was a minister, my grandfather was a minister. Wow. And, one of my best friends is a pastor back home in Maine. I'm out here in Las Vegas now. And, there's nothing in the Bible that says anything wrong with making money. What they talk about is sin. And the fact is, I love what you said, Ray, when you increase your standard of living, you increase your standard of giving. And there's so many charities and churches that, they need their time. We need people's time for sure. But they also need money to fund those trips, and so when you can make money and make a difference, it's, I've been able to give more money last year to my church than ever before and help my relatives. And so this is a book that, I highly recommend, and I've never read the book, but I'm anxious. I'm going to go get it. Okay. A Christmas gift for myself.
Nice.
Because it's, how much is the book? How much is the book?
It's this is published by Hay House. So it's up on Amazon, and you know how Amazon works. Like when sales go up, they actually reduce the price a little bit. So I think it's around $20, something like that.
All right. $20. I always say, if you can grab one idea from a book, it pays for itself. And my belief right now, I guarantee you, there's going to be all kind of golden nuggets that you can get from this book. And between time and mindset, I say Joseph in the Bible was a slave and he became a pharaoh. So whatever, I grew up very poor as well. I grew up rich because I had the best mom in the world. But you can go from zero to hero, and you can. And it's all about listening to the right things, reading the right books, listen. And that's helped. I've heard so many testimonials of people saying, and this is going to sound brown nose, but I'm really not. And those of you who watch my I'm really not. But you have changed people's lives because you get them in the right mindset, first of all. And that's one of the things. Two is you got to get uncomfortable. And Ray does this as good as anyone, guys. Ray Higdon, because he's going to get you uncomfortable. And if you start following him on social media, whether you're even going in a home business or not, I recommend you start following him, because even if you're in sales or you just want to get better, he's going to give you exercises that are going to make you grow. And it's when you get out of neutral, and it's, when you get out and you start doing things different, you're going to grow in the activity. And Ray puts not just you, think about your team, that they're going to hear something different than you're going to hear when you listen to Ray. Everyone hears something different, and you're going to grow. You're going to become better. You're going to be doing things you never thought you would do. I see people like, I can't believe this. I've never done a live on Facebook. I'm so nervous. And they're shaking. They're literally shaking. And the next thing you know, a year later, they're making a couple $100,000, all because they did something that was uncomfortable, and they had the support of you and their team and other people cheering them on. How rewarding is that?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, that's what fuels us. We love seeing, the breakthroughs. One of the stories that we highlight in the book is our friend Renee Adams. Renee Adams was a contestant on our first season of our reality show, and she had never shared her story, nothing. And she came on the show, and whatever the magic of the show, she opened up and shared that not only had she unfortunately been physically abused, sexually abused, but she'd also actually been trafficked. And just one of the tougher stories you're ever going to hear. And my advice, which we talk about in rule number 10, make an impact, was, hey, you're a survivor. You overcame some really incredible circumstances. There's a lot of people out there that you could inspire. And so within 2 weeks, she was speaking at abuse centers. She had never done public speaking before, had never shared her story. And then 2 months ago, she spoke at the 17th annual International Human Trafficking Convention put on by the University of Toledo in front of 19 countries. 19 countries tuned in to hear her story. And that was within 1 year. She went from never sharing the story, never public speaking, to speaking on one of the largest stages, impacting the people that have been through the same kind of stuff she had been through. And so like, that's what's possible. What's possible is that you go from no one knows me to, someone, 19 countries knowing your story. And so, that's the kind of stuff that keeps us going. That's the kind of stuff that keeps us fired up.
Wow. And everyone, your story, if you're watching this, your story needs to be told as well. And your mess can be someone else's message. So, okay, before I let you go, let's talk about some scripts a little bit. What do you're starting off, people are working from home. I don't know if I'm going to call it pandemic scripts or whatever. Well, how would you approach people? Because I was like before, at the end, I want to save a good question for last. I was thinking, how are you approaching people? What would you say when you're getting started? How would you start?
So there are really three levels. I've always been pretty good at scripts. I've been hired by insurance companies, been hired by real estate companies. And so I've just kind of, for whatever reason, I have a knack for scripts. So there are three levels. Level one was when the quarantine started. You could not prospect people and not bring that up. You just had to, right? And then there was a period where it was a lot of racial tension. That had to be addressed separately. You couldn't use the same words or else it could be insensitive. And then now, let's see what, happens in politics. But, right now, I think it's, not as different as what it was necessarily before the pandemic. But in the beginning, it was, hey, with what's going on, I'm super focused on what I'm doing to make extra money from home. Don't know if you're open and taking a look at what I'm doing. Happy to share it with you. If not, no big deal. Okay. So, with what's going on, I'm super focused on how I'm making money from home. That introduces, it introduces two desires psychologically. One, people actually want to be focused. And so you're over here on one, paradigm is focus, on the other paradigm is chaos. And chaos is the news, is media, is politicians. And so you're to the right person, focus is the vaccine to chaos. And so without focus, you are in chaos, especially if you leave yourself to the whims of the world, of media, et cetera. And so that worked really, really well. We had a lot of our RankMakers recruit their first reps. We had a lot of people that actually did better when the quarantine happened than they were doing before. And so, that then when it switched to, they cranked up the amps on racial tension, you had to change it because you couldn't say with what's going on, because then that's like, well, what does that mean? What do you mean by that, right? It could be misconstrued, like you're insensitive or whatever. And so then we switched it to be more specific with what's going on in the economy. And so that kind of took a little bit of the angle away from a more broad approach, which is what the quarantine was meant to do. And so with what's going on in the economy, I'm focused on what I'm doing to make extra money from home. I see that you're a waiter or waitress. I work with a lot of waiter waitresses to show them exactly how to make money from home. Is that something you're open to? If not, no big deal. And so notice, and some people will hear that kind of pretty direct approach and think, oh, is that spam or something? And spam, you really got to understand what spam is. Spam is assuming the position of the prospect without any evidence. And so if I walk down the mall back when we were able to do that and someone dabs the dead sea salt stuff on my arm, right, without my permission, that's spam. That's assuming I'm totally cool with you just wiping stuff on my arm. And so, but if that same person says, hey, I got this dead sea salt, can I show you real quick? Can I show you something real quick, right? That is not spam. That's seeing if you're open. If the guy walks up to the girl at the hotel bar and says, I got a room upstairs, that's making some assumptions, right, at minimum. But if he walks up, same girl, and says, hey, are you here with anyone? Can I buy you a drink? That's not spam. You're seeing if they're open. And so all of the scripts that work well, and we don't create scripts to cross recruit other network marketers. I'm not a fan of that. I think if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So these are for normals. These are for people not already in network marketing. But if you're asking someone if they're open and telling them it's okay if they're not, to learning more about what you do, That's not a pitch. A pitch would be, hey, I got this great thing, you should totally buy it. Or, hey, do me a favor and purchase this thing from me, show me some support. Those I hate. I absolutely hate those kind of assumptive scripts that have you skipping the sales process and going to a stage 2 when you don't know that they're stage 2. And so don't assume the position of the prospect without evidence. In fact, instead, see if they're open. And so the mission becomes, let's not try to close everyone. Let's instead just see who's open. That's all I ever did. I saw who was open. You open? All right, we'll move forward. You open? No? Cool, no problem. Let me move to the next person. And so that's one of the keys. And telling people it's okay if they're not open, because you're not desperate or needy.
Well, his name is Ray Higdon. His social media handle is RankMakers, and he's taught millions and millions of people changing their lives working from home. And you can tell he's just a plethora of knowledge. And I wanted to add, and his book is Time, Money, Freedom, which I think you're going to have a lot of people buying that book. I can't wait to get my hands on that and stealing those ideas and making them mine. So I'll give you credit for 2 weeks, and then there'll be another book, Time with Troy, out there. I'll probably get sued by it. But anyways,
Troy Money Freedom. I can see it now.
But we're just having some fun. One of the things I was listening to you about, like, who would want to be a business owner today? There's so much uncertainty. I would think so many business owners are open today for making a change or looking at something different. Can you touch upon that? And then I'll let you go, I promise.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, when I was building, my favorite people to recruit was business owners, because they understand profit and loss. They understand overhead. You look at a Domino's franchise, it's $250,000. And they tell you in the agreement that to expect a 10-year return on investment. So that means you'll get your $250,000 back in 10 years, and then you'll start making profit. Isn't that fantastic? Like, imagine if you went to people and said, hey, it's $1,000 to join my network marketing company, but you should get that back in 10 years. No one would join, but it would be a better deal, because it'd be less risk. It'd be less risk, less overhead. It'd be less you
the upside of your
here and putting all that money on the table. It'd actually be a better deal, but no one says that, right? And I got a buddy. It was $80,000 for his brick oven for his pizzeria that is closed because of the pandemic. Right? Can't do anything with it. Just sits there, doesn't do anything. And so business owner. I always loved recruiting business owners, but right now, I mean, man, I just got to wipe my mouth, because I would be recruiting business owners like freaking crazy right now. I would be. All right,
give us a last script thing. Give us a script. How would you approach them? Kind of similar?
It'd be a little different. So what turns on business owners is residual income, number one, right? Mm-hmm. Because every minute that restaurant isn't open, they're not making any money. And so residual income is number one. I would always lead with that kind of thing. Hey, I got something that won't interfere with whatever's going on with your restaurant, and this is a way for you to make a sale one time but get paid on it forever, and we show you exactly how to do it. And just so I know that you have a deep love and concern for your employees, and you're not able to help them out during these times. This may be a way that you could help them. And so I can show you how that works. And then if you do have people you would like to get in front of the presentation, then we can certainly do that. And so it's a residual income approach. It's here's a way to help the average ordinary person that may be, some of your employees. And it's a way for you to not have to wait for the government to tell you what you can do. This is something that they can talk to their other business owner friends who are also kind of freaking out and wondering what's going to happen. And so it would be that type of approach. Now, if I have a relationship with them, it might be a little bit different angle, but man, I'd be reaching out like crazy. And I would also be reverse engineering it. So I signed up an entire speaking company by recruiting the secretary. And so I went to the secretary and said, hey, you know what, if we get this in front of your bosses, I mean, this might be a cool thing. And so I recruited the secretary, then recruited the owners and the executives, and then they brought me into all of their events, and I recruited all of their students, not all of them, but a lot of their students. And so you can also reverse engineer that by talking to a waiter or waitress if that's a person that's trusted by the owner, and that owner, right now probably has some love toward their employees, might be more willing to listen because they're not as busy. That could be a gateway for you to, bring in an entire franchise.
Well, wow, this is great stuff. I mean, I think if people are watching, they're realizing just a small flavor of what you have to offer and what they expect if they start following you on RankMakers, and there's all kinds of discounted programs on there. So I encourage everybody to look up RankMakers, look up Ray Higdon. He's showing off his skills right now, and he's not even trying.
You're giving me alley oops, man.
But I truly think you're one of the best trainers in the entire world in this industry, and you really done a difference for me and helped my income go up and help my team's income go up. So I encourage everybody, even if you're considering just doing something different, whether it's from home. And the book one more time, is Time, Money, Freedom. It's by Ray Higdon. He's one of the best trainers, trains millions and millions of people. For him to know Russell Brunson, and I was hoping to meet Russell soon. I'll tell you that story offline. But Russell, owns ClickFunnels, is great with that, and Grant Cardone, and a lot of you guys have probably heard it. Some of you might not. But what he's doing is he's getting around the best people in the world. He's getting around the best people in the industry. And so because he's around the best people, he has the best information. And that's why I tune in to you. And Ray, any closing remarks you like to say?
No, thanks for having me on. And, just know that you don't have to be, saddled with fear like, some of these, politicians and the media want you to be. You can choose, focus on what you can control, and you can control your activity that leads to your results, that leads to your income. And, we hope to help you with that.
He's just nonstop, guys. He can keep on going. Go find him on RankMakers, and his name's Ray Higdon. Thanks a lot, Ray. Appreciate you coming on Time with Troy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.